Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, welcome back to the channel, and today, I'm feeling a little bit ill, so I decided low effort video for today. We're just gonna go over a Reddit post that I found very interesting. It's about the worst mistakes Smite has made over like its 10-12 year lifespan. Obviously with Smite 2 coming out, there's a lot you can learn from what happened with Smite 1 and some of the mistakes they made, some of the things that didn't go so well, and hopefully they can not do these things with Smite 2 and it will be a better game for it. So yeah, this post by El Unico Corsario. Apologies if I butchered your pronunciation there. With the future release of Smite 2 and with Smite 1 getting fewer and fewer updates in the future, it's time to look back over the 10 years of Smite and reflect on the mistakes that were made with this game. These will be the things that hurt the game's popularity, growth, or missed potential. I consider the biggest mistake made with the game was the misallocation of resources stemming from all the failed ventures Hi-Rez had. Hopefully Smite 2 is a signal that Hi-Rez understood that Smite is their only successful IP and all of their money and effort should be allocated on growing the game and community instead of rolling the dice with new games. So yeah, I somewhat agree with this and somewhat don't agree with it in a certain way because, yes, they could have allocated a lot of that money to making Smite better, but also there's only a certain amount of money you can throw at stuff to make it an overall better game. Am I super excited that they're doing Smite 2? Absolutely. I think it needed it, and I think it's great to see them really investing a lot of time and effort and money into, obviously, their most successful franchise. But I wouldn't say that all of Hi-Rez ventures outside of Smite were, like, unsuccessful, particularly. Paladins was very successful for a long time, more successful than Smite at one point. Now I believe it's kind of died off a little bit, but at one point, Paladins was getting more players than Smite was getting. Realm Royale, of course, at its peak had way more players than Smite has ever had. Realm Royale actually popped off on release, but the problem is, like, they kind of killed Realm Royale off with a bunch of terrible updates. And maybe Paladins is the same kind of. Some of their ventures, yeah, they've just been terrible. Rogue Company did really badly from what I've seen. DKO literally died within like 2 months of launch and no one plays it. It's got like 12 active players on Steam. Hand of the Gods Smite Tactics as well. It seems like a lot of the Smite spin-off games just really, it seems like they were trying to be carried by the Smite IP and they weren't actually like successful games in their own right. They weren't fun. So yeah, I do somewhat agree with this. I think they do a lot of like frivolous ventures that weren't really properly planned out. Like, I think the game needs to come first, and if you're just trying to piggyback off of Smite's IP and make a trash game, like the only good one in my opinion was Prophecy, but that one got shut down as well, and that actually wasn't made by Hi-Rez Studios as far as I'm aware. I think they contracted a different company to make it and just licensed the Smite IP for them. But yeah, let's move into the comments of these because there's a bunch of really interesting comments on what people think are like the biggest mistakes that Smite has made over the years. Yeah, this guy basically says what I just said there. Like, Paladins was successful, but they killed it with bad balance choices. I wouldn't say Paladins is dead at this point. Let's have a quick look at the Steam charts. And of course, as I say, every time I pull up Steam charts, Steam charts isn't the only way to measure things. Console player base is a large part of it, but generally the trends that are happening on Steam will also be happening on console. It's just, you know, typically the console player base will be larger for a lot of these games. But like if the trend is down on PC, the trend is probably down on console as well. And yeah, you can see that Paladins it's not dead by any means, but you're averaging way less players than Smite was, and compared to some of their mods back here where they're averaging like 30,000 players more than Smite at some point during their release. Yeah, the game's not dead, but it is like sort of dying or on maintenance mode, I suppose. And yeah, Realm Royale, I had a lot of fun with it back in the day, honestly. It was one of the more unique battle royales. I like the magic systems and stuff like that. I think it was generally quite well done, but yeah, they removed the Forge, which is like half the reason why the game was fun in the first place and different from other battle royales. Like, why would you not just go play Fortnite if they're just going to try and make it like Fortnite? And that feels like what happens with a lot of games that Hi-Rez makes. They have great ideas. They often pop off on launch, and then they just kind of don't know where to take them and then ruin them with bad updates. This guy is basically saying that all of the South American servers are dead because they implemented a system where they would move you to a different server if your queue time was too long. So like, this is probably not accurate, but like if you're waiting 10 minutes in the queue or whatever, it would just send you over to like the North American servers and you get terrible ping. And so basically you're rolling a dice on if you'd actually get a match on your servers or if you get moved over to like NA servers and have like 200 ping and stuff like that. So apparently that's why SA servers are dead. This may not reach the category of worst mistakes, but I've always thought it was dumb as fuck that console players, the majority of players, can't interact with PMs or be involved in post-game chat. Really? See, I've never played Smite on console, so I don't know these things. There's probably a lot of things about console Smite that I just do not know about, and yeah, this sucks, dude. Obviously, it's harder to type and stuff on console, but you should still give people the option if they want to. More than anything, just let us edit the HUD. I hate losing part of my screen each time someone dies in a fight. You can't edit the HUD on console? I thought that was the whole reason for the new HUD, that they were kind of trying to unify it with the console one and allow you to edit it. I mean, this guy has no upvotes on his comment. Maybe it's not true, but damn, that's kind of crazy. Them taking the Smite Pro League exclusively to Mixer killed it. Yeah, sort of. I think there were other things that damaged the Pro League as well, like the move to Georgia, the removal of like rivalries and stuff like that, the restricted access. It was very hard to get into the Pro League, especially if you were not from North America. Like the barrier to entry was just so massive that it kind of stifled competition. You know, Friends League, as everyone says. But yeah, the move to Mixer definitely will have hurt it 100%. We've seen this a lot in this kind of like era where a lot of like streaming platforms and YouTube and stuff like that were trying to buy things. It actually doesn't work that well. It doesn't really promote your platform all that well, and if anything, you just piss off the people that were going to watch, like, that esports scene anyway, and they're not going to watch it on your platform because they're, like, soft boycotting it because you've literally stolen it away, and it's just annoying. And yeah, of course, Mixer literally died, and then that contract went to shit. The World's Finals on Twitch in Season 5, the season before they went exclusively to Mixer, had 110,000 viewers. God damn, that's a lot. Smite Season 10 Finals had 56k viewers at peak and was during the NFL playoffs. Yeah, so like, it wasn't, as I said, it wasn't the only thing that sort of, quote, killed the Smite Pro League. The Smite Pro League was never killed. There was still a lot of interest in it, but it was definitely nowhere near what it was in the earlier seasons. Mixer is a part of that, but it's not the exclusive reason. This guy says the change of pro play, making everything LAN and cutting the global scene. I can agree that most regions didn't have the best performance over the years, but I still enjoyed cheering for them at Worlds. Cutting out EU also cut out a lot of top tier players, and now Worlds just feels the same as a normal week of Pro League. It doesn't feel as exciting. Yeah, I mentioned this before, like taking away the region-based rivalry, stifling competition, not allowing players from other regions. Well, not specifically not allowing players from other regions, but making it incredibly hard for them because they'd have to get like a visa to the US and all this other stuff that they would have to do. It's a lot of logistical stuff, and it probably just isn't worth it for a game the size of Smite and the amount of money they actually get paid for it. And so a lot of like really strong EU players or really strong Asia players or whatever just can't really get into the Pro League reasonably. Too harsh FOMO. I'm pretty new to the game and there are like a billion skins you simply can't buy ever. I get that FOMO is a strong marketing tool, but ignoring collectors completely is a mistake in my opinion. Make skins rare by selling them only a few days every other year or on special holidays. Yeah, I think some exclusive skins is absolutely fine. This is seen in like any kind of collectible like marketplace style stuff, like cards as well do this. You know, they won't do reprints or anything, or like the reprints will be not as valuable as like the original cards and stuff like that. You know, I have a reprint first set edition Charizard, it's worth about 50 quid, whereas a proper first edition Charizard is worth hundreds of thousands sometimes. So yeah, exclusivity I think is a good thing in moderation. I think Smite strikes an okay balance with it, but it is a little bit too heavy on the exclusivity side. Like, there are a lot of skins where you just look and you're like, oh, well, I just straight up can't get this anymore, or oh, I've got to pay 4 times the price that I would have done if I was just there on release, and you have no real control over that. You know, if you didn't have the money at the time, or you weren't even playing Smite at the time, you just kind of screwed out of it. They could have some kind of like sort of like a Danzaburo shop, but for old exclusive skins that aren't available anymore, and like 3 come up every week or something, and you can choose to buy them, even if they're a little bit higher priced than a normal skin or something like that. I think that could be cool. Getting rid of clan and clan stores. I got all the shadow skins, which is cool, but it was super fun to have a group to be able to grind towards unlocking skins you could only get in the clan shop. I had a lot of friends quit after that because a lot of convincing for them to get on leveling up the clan. Yeah, I've talked about clans ad nauseum in a lot of my videos recently, and I really think that what they've done with clans is a complete embarrassment. Like taking away all the features, saying they'll come back soon TM, and then in like 2 years later they come back with less features than they had before. Like, I really hope they do a lot with clans in Smite 2. I'm not sure if they're going to or not, but like I think at the very least they should have clans in a state that they were at in like early Smite, with like a clan store and unique skins and stuff like that. But I think they should go further personally, you know, make a clan chat a little bit more interesting, make it almost like a mini Discord server or something where you can have different channels, you can have like voice channels within your clan that you can just hop in. Maybe that's unnecessary because people just use Discord, but I feel like having it in game will be nice. And then yeah, major clan goals, like clan quests that everyone's working towards, you know, like get 25 triple kills in a week or something like that, and everyone in the clan's working towards it, and you get like a big boost of clan points for doing that. And then have these like rotating clan shops. I've mentioned this idea before, where like you could have for a certain week, your clan has a specific shop that is unique to your clan, and you get all these unique offerings of like maybe exclusive skins and stuff like that that only your clan can buy, either with gems or with clan honor. And then like as you level up your clan, maybe that shop becomes better, has more exclusive skins, more skins available and stuff like that, refreshes more often, something Something like that, just to really bring a lot of life back into clans, because that community aspect of the game has really just been lost, honestly. As someone who started Smite early when I played on PS4, it really sucked that they stayed under Sony's umbrella, preventing them from making the game cross-platform and cross-progression. It sucked that I was pretty much fucked from all my skins and progress when I switched to my PC. I'm happy Smite 2 will credit me these so-called legacy gems, but all of my skins and other accolades will forever be stuck on my PS4. Yeah, this is not a mistake Smite made, though, unfortunately. There's just not really a lot you can do about that. Hi-Rez have said multiple times that they always reach out to Sony about this stuff, and I think they did get cross-progression, right? But not like cross-skins or something like that. I'm not entirely sure where it's at the moment, but Hi-Rez have said multiple times that they try and reach out to Sony on this stuff, but unfortunately, Sony is the bigger of the two consoles, and they hate Microsoft, and so that they want to be assholes about it. There's not much Hi-Rez can actually do about that. Removing crossover battle passes and making the crossover skins purely attainable through super expensive events was just nasty. Obviously, we know why they did this. Money is an amazing thing, but it really put me off getting basically any crossover stuff, especially when the rules made sure 1 out of the 4 options is like a jump stamp and emblems. Yeah, this is just emblematic, I suppose, of like the chess system in general. It's just really annoying to have to roll for something, and it feels like it's not like this. They do show you if like it's an even odds of getting something in the chest, and most of them are, but it does feel like you end up rolling way more times than you should for like this one thing that you want out of the chest, especially when there's random garbage in the chest and it's not all like skins you want. Before adding chests, I was buying gems every month, no second thought. New skin, like the god slash skin or not, I bought it regardless to support the game. After chests got added, I only bought gems for Odysseys, so basically once a year instead of every month. I started to catch up once Hi-Rez started selling all skins for 1200, a bit stingy but way better than gambling my hard-earned cash away on chests. FOMO skins are equally annoying, yeah, so going into FOMO and stuff like that. Adjust the price for inflation, 600 gem skins become 800, 400 become 500 or 600, battle pass skins remain purchasable for 800. A worse deal than buying battle ass. I assume this is intentional. Worse than buying battle pass for 600 and getting 2 to 3 skins for it, but purchasable for returning players. Event skins get similar treatment, price adjusted to match the event price, of course, keep the chests for collectors and stuff like that. Yeah, chests have gotten better over the years. There was kind of like a peak of like peak scumminess from Hi-Rez with chests, and that was in like season 4 or 5, I think, where like everything that you saw was released in a chest. They didn't publish the odds or anything like that. You could have chests with like 100 items, and like this was a good example of the Dirt Pulis skin. Like the chance to actually get Dirt Pulis out of like it wasn't a 1 in 100, it was like way less than that, and you would just get like all the other random garbage, and then your last roll you'd end up getting the actual skin you want from that chest. And they have gotten better about it over the years. It still kind of sucks that like a lot of skins that are released, you know, if they're not in a battle pass or an event, they're almost certainly in a chest. They very rarely do direct purchase skins that aren't in an event, because they need some way of FOMOing you in to buy them, right? I don't know, I'm honestly just jaded at this point. I'm not sure this is ever going to change. I think Smite 2 will have chests. I think Smite 2 will have exclusive battle passes and events and stuff like that. I don't think it's ever going to change. I think you're just going to have to come to accept it, that's like the price of playing the game. It sucks. We can wish it'd be better, but unfortunately this is what makes them the most money. And they are almost always going to go with what makes them the most money, to a point. Obviously there was stuff like Divine Uprising, where the community are like, no, we've had enough, you're not doing this, and then they make it better. So obviously keep standing up for this stuff. I'm not saying you shouldn't, I'm just saying that I don't expect much to change. Killing Adventures, I love the game, but new content is limited to 5 gods a year, the rest are just up for skins. Focus more on projects related to Smite than Smite, besides just copying fashions. Hand of the Gods, DKO, Realm Royale, etc. Smite 2 seems to me to be a success that should have been seen years ago. Must have switched to Unreal 4, now Smite 2 will likely take years to be like Smite 1, and I see it as very difficult for both of them to survive in the long term. Yes, this is 100% true, it will be very difficult for both to survive in the long term, and I can't imagine Smite 1... It depends. If Smite 2 is not very successful and Smite 1 develops a fan base of like they don't like Smite 2 and they just want to stick with Smite 1, then maybe they could both run alongside each other. But I think if Smite 2 is an overall success, Smite 1 will be dead within a few years. Like they'll be slowing down updates on it. Smite 2 will be out, everyone's going to move over to that, or most people will move over to that. And then there'll be less people to buy the skins that they make on Smite 1, so they'll make less skins on Smite 1, so there'll be less people playing because there's less new content, and it'll slowly spiral into the game dying. I don't think, they say they're going to support it into the future. They haven't given us a time frame on that, obviously. They're not going to say we'll support the game for 5 years, and then it becomes completely financially unviable to support it 1 year after Smite 2's launch. But yeah, if Smite 2 is successful, I can't imagine Smite 1 lasting too long. Getting rid of things that players liked is the top of my list. Generally, yeah, getting rid of things that players like is probably a big mistake. That's just very subjective, of course. Everyone likes different things. The first order of business was removing the stats on the loading screens. This one I do agree with, though. I have no idea why that went away. My only explanation, really, is that similar to why you can hide your god masteries, like, people were embarrassed about their stats and, like, people were toxic about it or something. Like, you see, you know, someone with, like, 15 stars on a god and they have, like, 200 kills and 5,000 assists and, like, 5,000 deaths or something. Like, you can kind of see their KDA based on it, and maybe people were toxic about it. But the thing is, just allow people to hide it. You allow people to hide their masteries, just allow people to hide the stats as well, and allow people to display them if they want to. I was also a big Bombers mask enjoyer. Now they killed everything speed, removing boots. I mean, removing boots was a good change. This guy says it here, yeah, good riddance to boots, so I'm glad they're not back in Smite 2. One thing I am sad about with Smite 2, though, is that there aren't any starter items, which is kind of sad. I think starter items, the Season 8 versions, were one of the overall best changes ever made to Smite, and it's kind of sad that we're not getting them in Smite 2, at least not yet. I imagine, you know, a few updates down the line, a couple of years down the line, they'll probably end up adding them back as like an update, but it seems like they're trying to keep things simple for the launch of Smite 2. Oh man, there are plenty. Failure to push players into Conquest, a stated goal for Smite 2. On the same note, there are too many game modes that split the player base. Yeah, this is kind of, it's a bit of a foregone conclusion at this point, because you can't really do too much about it at this point in the game's lifecycle. Like, if we were only a couple of years into Smite 1's development, yes, you could probably remove those things and sort of pigeonhole people into playing mostly Conquest. But the thing is, at this point, you have a lot of players that just aren't interested in Conquest. You know, you've not built your player base up of people that are interested in Conquest. You built your player base up of like 50% people that are interested in Conquest and 50% people that just want to play Arena and Joust and Slash and Assault and stuff like that. So if you end up removing those game modes, likelihood is that 80% of the people that played those game modes are just gonna probably not play Smite 2 and they'll just play Smite 1 instead, or they'll just quit entirely. But yeah, I do agree that like some larger focus on Conquest, especially like teaching people Conquest within the game itself, so you don't have to like go and look up outside sources and stuff like that. And they are making Conquest a lot simpler in Smite 2. They've said that already, that they want to make it a little bit simpler to get into so that people can get into it a bit more easily. But yeah, I can't imagine that Smite 2 is not going to have all of your mainstay game modes. Slash might not be safe. Slash might be gone. I would not be surprised if Slash was gone for them to just like cut down on the overall game modes at launch. This might be a hot take, but Joust also might go. Joust has been losing popularity for many years at this point. It used to be one of the most popular modes in the game alongside Arena and Conquest, and it's just not anymore if you look at like recent player data. So maybe Joust could go, but of course it is unique, and if Joust goes, then where are you going to put Duel and stuff like that? So Joust probably won't go either, and I think Conquest, Arena, and Assault are just safe. They'll be in the game. Destroy Pro League with a mixer deal. Yeah, we've already talked about this one. Gods and God balance. There doesn't need to be 130 gods in the game at any given time. 30 are good, 70 are mid with better versions of themselves in the top 30, and the last 30 are useless troll picks. I've got to say I disagree on this one. Obviously, God balance can be terrible, obviously. That's not really a specific mistake that they made where you could say, oh, change this, because God balance is, you know, a sort of spectrum, I suppose. But yeah, I don't agree with the fact that there doesn't need to be 130 gods in the game. Like, yes, it can get a bit annoying sometimes when, like, you face this god that is, like, you've never seen them before, or they've not been viable for ages, and you've played against them once in the last 2 years of playing Smite, and you kind of get wrecked by them because you don't know what they're doing. Yes, that can be annoying, but also, like, it's just a pick variety, you know? If there's 70 mid gods with better versions, some people enjoy playing those gods, like, and the meta is more balanced than you think. Like, you can play a bottom 10 character and still absolutely win games, unless there's, like, something specifically terribly wrong with that character, like they're bugged or literally just god-awful and unplayable. But most of the time, that's not the case, and having this amount of gods in the game allows people to find something that they're truly interested in and find their unique playstyle. In general, Hi-Rez seemed to have made a decision a while ago that they were never going to compete with League or Dota, so rather than try and make their game a competitive tier 2 game, they just said, fuck it, we'll be the Goofy Skin collaboration MOBA. I personally really hope Smite 2 takes a different approach and takes itself more seriously. There is nothing stopping Smite from being a game the size of Rainbow Six Siege or another tier 2 esport. So this is similar to one that we had before, in terms of like pushing people into Conquest and stuff like that, basically what he said up here. And yes, Smite 2 is a chance for them to reinvent themselves in terms of the competitive side of things. The Pro League is going to be opening up, we're going to be having more competition. It's not going to be local in Georgia anymore, there's going to be online, and there's going to be like NA players, EU players, maybe they'll even have other regions expanded now. Obviously Asia is massive in the esports scene now, so maybe there'll be a significant Asia scene if that develops. And they'll be having different events in different places, you know, if they ever have an event in the UK or maybe even in continental Europe, I will probably go, whereas I didn't really go to Worlds because it's just so expensive and time consuming to travel over to the US for that. So yeah, I think there is a big chance to reinvent themselves in terms of the competitive scene, especially if they set it up right, let it grow organically, get orgs in and stuff like that. Yeah, this guy says a similar thing, as that they never figured out if this game was going to be a competitive or a fun social game, and they're kind of trying to get the best of both worlds, and it's sort of working, but sort of not. Like I mentioned before, with like, you know, half the players are in it for the conquest and the competitive side of things, and half the players are in it for just spamming in arena and joust and assault and just having a bunch of mindless fun with their gods and enjoying the kits and stuff like that. And they kind of do need to decide a little bit on a direction. With Smite 2, it seems like they are focusing a little bit more on making the game a little bit more competitive, getting people into conquest and stuff like that. For me, I'm pretty happy about that, because I am a conquest player. I do enjoy the competitive side of Smite a lot, but also there's a fine line to walk, because if you alienate your casual player base too much, you're going to lose a lot of players for that. Forced crossplay was one of the worst moves IMO, as well as the removal of clans, clash, and siege. I also believe they made conquest a bit too difficult for new players with a vast amount of objectives across the map. Forced crossplay was not one of the worst moves at all. It was one of the better ones, in my opinion. Opens up the matchmaking pool. More than half of the player base, I believe, are on consoles, and so it really improves the overall matchmaking. Removal of clans we've talked about. Clash and siege, yeah, it's whatever. I enjoyed siege. I enjoy Slash as well, but I enjoyed Siege more. Slash is basically Clash with Siege Juggernauts. It's nothing like Siege, unfortunately. I personally love Siege, but I can see why they will want to remove it. Pretty much no one played it. And Conquest is a little bit too difficult for new players with a vast amount of objectives. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do with Smite 2. They're trying to bring it into a more simple design, especially for the early days. It gives them room to add in more things over time to keep the game interesting. You know, if they just had, like, Smite 1's level of conquest complexity on the launch of Smite 2, not only would it be bad for new players, but also they're stifling the amount of room that they have for creativity in terms of adding new stuff to the map in the future. But yeah, there you go. That's some of Smite's biggest mistakes over its, like, 10 to 12 year lifespan and what they can change going into Smite 2. Of course, leave your own thoughts down below on all this stuff. What do you think Smite's biggest mistake was? Do you agree with any of the ones in this post? All that good stuff. And I will catch you guys in another one later on. Have a great day. And peace out, you nerds.